Okay, it is related to heat. Okay, so now first thing is we talk about matter, right? We all say that there are many molecules and atoms in matter, and they all are vibrating about. If I talk of a solid substance, they are all vibrating about the mean positions. So because of that, they are having kinetic energy because they keep moving to and fro. Another thing, there is a force of attraction between the molecules. Because of that, they have got potential energy also. So they have got kinetic energy plus potential energy. So both the energies put together gives mechanical energy, and this mechanical energy itself is the heat energy of that particular body. Okay, so this mechanical energy that they possess is the heat energy. Just let us have a look at the screen. Okay, now look at the screen. Now, what is heat? It is the internal energy of the molecules, okay? And it always flows from a hot body to a cold body whenever it is kept in contact, right? And from where the molecules are getting this internal energy, as I told you, because they keep vibrating about the mean positions, they have kinetic energy, and due to the force of attraction, that is called the potential energy of the molecule. Okay, so both the energies put together is called the internal energy of the molecules, and that is nothing but heat. Okay, now as you supply more heat, what will happen? The internal energy will start increasing because the molecules will start vibrating more, okay? Or they will start moving away from their mean positions, right? So the internal energy will start increasing by as you go on supplying more and more heat. So what is calorimetry? It is nothing but the measurement of the quantity of heat. We are trying to measure, okay, the quantity of heat that is being supplied, that is being lost, okay, that is being gained. So all this is known as calorimetry. Now, very important units, this chapter has got different units. Please remember, SI unit of heat is joule, and another unit of heat is calorie. Okay, this question is asked for 1 mark in the board exams. What is the relationship between calorie and joule? So 1 calorie equal to 4.2 joule. Just to write this one thing, you get 1 mark. So please remember, the SI unit of heat is joule, the other unit is calorie, and this is the relationship between both the units, right? Now, let us see the definition of 1 calorie. Okay, the quantity of heat energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water. So I take a particular mass of water, 1 gram, because I'm talking of 1 calorie, and I want to raise the temperature by 1 degree. Now, instead of writing 1 degree, they have given a particular temperature, 14.5 degrees Celsius to 15.5. Why they have given this range is because water does not have a uniform expansion. Okay, water has got a totally non-uniform expansion. So sometimes with 1 degree heat, the temperature may rise a lot. Sometimes with one little bit of heat, say 1 calorie heat, the temperature may rise a lot. Sometimes the temperature may not rise so much. So they have given a particular range because water does not have a uniform expansion. Then you come to the definition of kilocalorie. Quantity of heat energy required to raise the temperature of 1 kg, because this is kilocalorie, 1 kg of water from 14.5 degrees Celsius to 15.5 degrees Celsius, right? Now, kilocalorie, many a times you see this, it is the energy of food value, okay? They write it in kilocalories. Whenever you buy something, it is written that the energy is 4 kilocalories or whatever, right? So that is mainly the energy of the food value. Now, what is temperature? Now, this question had been asked in your 9th standard exam also, that when two bodies are in contact, what is the direction of flow of heat? So always from a hot body to a cold body, right? And what is temperature? It determines the direction of flow of heat. SI unit, very important. So temperature determines the direction of flow of heat, and the SI unit of temperature is Kelvin, right? And the other unit of temperature is Celsius, degree Celsius. right? So we saw what is calorie. These are just the definitions. Okay. Now comes the important part, the equations, right? So the factors which affect the quantity of heat. So let us see the factors. Now Q. What does Q stands for? Q stands for heat. Okay. Now heat is the internal energy of molecules. It flows from a hot body to a cold body. Now, this heat energy, first thing, depends on M, that is mass. It depends on delta T, that is the change in temperature. Okay. So now, how does it depend on mass? So let us say I have got a substance weighing 500 grams. Okay. I want to increase, now that substance is at 20 degrees Celsius. I want to increase the temperature to, see, try to understand me. I want to increase the temperature to 40 degrees Celsius. So I want to increase the temperature from 20 degrees to 40 degrees. So what is delta T? 40 minus 20. So it will be 20. The delta T is 20, right? Now, for that, how much heat has to be supplied? So let us say this substance is 500 grams. So I'm supplying a heat of 1000 joules. Okay. So this much of heat energy has to be supplied for raising the temperature from 20 degrees to 40 degrees. The same substance, if I have 1 kg of the same substance, okay, again I have to raise the heat from 20 degrees to 40 degrees. I do not have to supply 1000 joules heat. Now, because the mass has changed, I have to supply more heat, maybe 2000 joules of heat. So the amount of heat supplied firstly depends on mass. Different masses, okay, if I have a small mass, less heat, common sense. If I have a bigger mass, then obviously I have to supply more heat. That is the first thing, first factor. Second is delta T. Now what is delta T? Let us see, I have both the substances of 500 grams each. This substance is also same substance, 500 gram copper and 500 gram copper, right? But for the first substance, the change in temperature has to be from 20 degrees to 30 degrees. Only 10 degrees change in temperature. For the second substance, change in temperature has to be from 20 degrees to 40 degrees. So 20 degrees change in temperature. Obviously, if the change in temperature is 20 degrees, then I have to supply more heat, right? So it depends on delta T. How much temperature needs to be increased? If less amount, if only 10 degrees temperature needs to be increased, then less heat. If 20 degrees temperature has to be increased by 20 degrees, then more heat to be supplied, right? So heat also depends on delta T. So these are the two main factors. So you just like when you had force, remember last time force varies as M, force varies as A. So force equal to 2 vary sign. So you have to put equal to and you put a constant. So Q varies as M, Q varies as delta T. So Q equal to, you put a constant C. Now this is a very important thing, C. C is the specific heat capacity of the substance, C. Okay. It is specific to different substances. Just like you have specific resistance. Okay. So R equal to rho L upon A. So same way, C is the specific heat capacity of the substance, and this C is specific to each substance. Now look at this equation. Q equal to, as I said, Q varies as mass, amount of heat supplied varies as mass, Q varies as delta T. So Q, here you can put a varies sign, M delta T. So if I want to remove the sign, I put equal to and I put a constant. So Q equal to C into M delta T. Remember the equation. Now from here, if I want to get the value of C, C equal to Q upon M delta T. M delta T you take on the other side. So C equal to Q upon M delta T, right? So as per this, the unit of specific heat capacity will be unit of heat joule, unit of mass kg, okay? So kg raised to -1, okay? And unit of temperature degrees Celsius, okay? So upon 1, so kg raised to -1 and degree Celsius raised to -1. And if I'm talking of SI unit, as you all know, SI unit of temperature is Kelvin, okay? So here instead of degree Celsius, if you talk of SI unit, it will be joule per kg per Kelvin. Okay. So you should know what is the specific heat capacity. First thing, the equation. It is a little confusing. Read it. So Q varies as M, Q varies as delta T. Just remember this equation. Q equal to C, MC delta T. If you remember this, then you can get everything easily. So C equal to Q upon M delta T, right? And the unit of C will be joule, because joule is the unit of Q, heat, upon kg and degree Celsius, right? So now let us see the definition of specific heat capacity. So the definition is specific heat capacity is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of a unit mass. Remember, we talk of unit mass. That is why it is specific heat capacity by 1 degree Celsius. Okay. So see the formula. Specific heat capacity, it is given by C, amount of heat energy supplied divided by mass into the rise in temperature. Rise in temperature is given as delta T. So C equal to Q divided by M into delta T. As I gave you the units, joule per kg per Celsius, degree Celsius, and joule per kg per Kelvin. Okay. Now this is specific heat capacity. This is always related to unit mass. And so each substance will have the same value of specific heat capacity. Okay. There is a table given in your book where the specific heat capacity of various substances, for example, lead and so on. Amar has come now. Okay, lead and all the other substances, okay, is given. So this has a fixed value. It will not change for any kind of substance. It is fixed value, and this determines whether the substance will be a good conductor or a bad conductor. That I will tell you later. Now there is one more thing that is called heat capacity. Now what is heat capacity?
Ma'am,
1 minute, 1 minute. I will just come to that specific heat capacity screen. Ask. Who wants to ask? Yes.
me.
Yes, Aditya, tell me.
Ma'am, what just happened 5 minutes ago? I lost electricity here.
Okay, fine.
The light was
So, okay.
Ma'am.
So just here. 1 minute. So specific heat capacity I explained. Specific heat capacity is the amount of energy, the C. Okay. I said that I have to explain from here. I said amount of heat supplied depends upon the mass of the substance and depends upon the mass of the substance, and it depends upon the delta T, that is the change in temperature, right? So Q equal to Cm delta T, right? Where C is the specific heat. Now, so Q equal to Q varies as M and Q varies as delta T. So this varies sign, if you remove, you put a constant, that is C. And C is called the specific heat capacity of the substance. Okay, C. And if you from here, if you see the formula of C, which I am telling children, just remember this formula. Q equal to Cm delta T or Mc delta T. So from here you can get the formula for C. Take M and delta T below. So C equal to Q upon M delta T. Okay. And the SI unit of C, first the unit of C, joule, because joule is the unit of Q. Then unit of mass is kg. Okay. So joule per kg per degree Celsius. But if I want it in SI unit, then because the SI unit of temperature is Kelvin, so the SI unit will be joule per kg per Kelvin. Okay. So this is regarding specific heat capacity. And as I said, because it is unit mass, each substance will have the fixed value. If I talk of lead, it has a fixed value of specific heat capacity. If I talk of water, it has a fixed value of specific heat capacity. So then I gave the definition. The specific heat capacity is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of unit mass. So here we always talk of unit mass. So C equal to Q upon M delta T. But there is something else which is called heat capacity. Okay. So I'll just show you the previous slide, that is heat capacity. Now, heat capacity, don't be confused. Heat capacity is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of a body by 1 degree Celsius. We are not talking about unit mass. Okay. So this heat capacity will go on changing. As I told you, if the mass is more, okay, then I have to raise the temperature by 20 degrees Celsius. Okay. Then I have to supply more energy if the mass is 1 kg. And if the mass is 500 grams, then I have to supply less energy. So over here, this C dash cannot be constant. This C dash is not constant because it depends upon mass. Okay. More is the mass, then there will be a different change because more heat energy needs to be supplied. Okay. Over here, right? For a same change in temperature, more is the mass, then more. So the C dash will become more. So this heat capacity is only the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of a body. There is no unit mass given. Because there is no unit mass given, this cannot be constant for a given substance. It goes on changing depending upon how much mass of the substance I am taking. But in case of specific heat capacity, I have given unit mass. There is mass also involved. So you have to divide that by mass. So it will always remain constant. It will never change for a given substance. Specific heat capacity remains constant. Now over here, what is the unit of heat capacity? As you can see, unit of Q. Unit of Q is joule. Unit of temperature is degree Celsius. So only small unit. Okay. Here SI unit of heat is joule, and the unit of temperature is Kelvin. So joule per Kelvin. Right. So if I see the relationship over here, see C dash, everyone look here. See, pay attention. C dash equal to Q upon delta T. Okay, it does not depend on mass. The heat capacity. C is the specific heat capacity. Q upon M delta T. Now, Q upon delta T is nothing but C dash. So instead of this, I can write C dash. Right? So I've written that C equal to C dash upon M. So the relationship between specific heat capacity and heat capacity is specific heat capacity equal to heat capacity divided by mass. Over here, can you see this relationship? Okay, C equal to C dash upon M. How did you get it? C equal to Q upon M delta T. But Q upon delta T is C dash. So instead of Q upon delta T, you write C dash. So C dash upon M. Now this is very important, very, very important. The next line, the substance which has a low specific heat capacity. Now we are not talking of heat capacity. Always we will be mentioning only specific heat capacity. A substance with a low specific heat capacity will show a rapid rise in temperature. It will show a very sudden rise in temperature. So it is a very good conductor of heat. But a substance that has a high specific heat capacity will show a very decrease. It will not, the temperature of that substance will not rise rapidly. Okay. It has a slow rise in temperature. So it is not a very good conductor of heat. Okay. Now, if you compare the heat capacities, okay, if I take the heat capacity of specific heat capacity of, let us say copper, it is 399. Okay. And water is 4200. So which is a better conductor, copper or water? 100% copper. Okay. For water to raise the temperature of a particular sea. In case of copper, if I have 1 kg copper and if I have 1 kg water, in case of copper, if I want to raise the temperature by 1 degree Celsius, I have to supply very less heat. Okay, immediately the temperature will rise. Why? Because the specific heat capacity of copper is very low. But in case of water, if I have to raise the temperature even by 1 degree Celsius, I have to supply a large amount of heat because the water is having a high specific heat capacity. So the capacity of water to raise the temperature is very slow. So I will say that copper is a very good conductor of heat. Okay. So you are asked these kind of questions in the board exam. There is a substance A and B. Substance A has got the specific heat capacity 4 and substance B has got 50. Okay. So which is a better conductor? So the only one line answer you need to give, substance A is a good conductor of heat because it has a low specific heat capacity. Did you follow? Simple answer.
Yes.
2 marks. 2 marks you get with this answer. Are you following? So please understand that. One more thing, very important. Specific heat capacity of the same substance. See, I'm talking of water. Okay. But you see in different phases. See, these are the different phases of water. It will change. The specific heat capacity, depending upon the phase, solid, liquid or gas, it changes. And you can see over here that the specific heat capacity of water is 4,200 joules per kg per Kelvin. But of ice, it is 2,100 and of steam, it is 460. See, we are talking of the same substance, water. But how the specific heat capacity has changed as the phase changes. Okay. So in different phases, okay, the specific heat capacity of that particular substance will change. Right. So this is the first part. You have to understand what do I mean by specific heat capacity. You have to know the formula of specific heat capacity, and you have to know this, that a substance which has a low specific heat capacity is a good conductor. A substance which has a high specific heat capacity, to raise the temperature, it takes a long time. It will raise the temperature. Best example, when you go on the beach, okay? When you are, so let's say it's 12 p.m. and the sun is hot. The sand is so hot, you can hardly walk on the sand. But when you go in the water, you do not feel the water to be so hot. Why? Because the sand has got a lower specific heat capacity, so the temperature rises quickly. But water, the heat capacity is very high, so the temperature of water rises slowly. Okay, so you do not feel that the water is very hot, but your feet will sting if you are on the sand, because the sand becomes hot faster. Okay. Now we come to calorimeter. What is it? Now this is the main concept, calorimeter and how it is used. Okay. Before that, let me have a look whose videos are off. Yash, Rishabh, why are the videos off? I will mark you all absent now. All the videos have to be on. Okay. I'm just calling out. Just say yes. Atharva Avsare, is he there?
No, I didn't see him in any class.
Okay. Atharva Banage is there, right? Atharva Banage, say yes. Yeah, I can see him. Saili, where is Saili?
Ma'am.
Okay. Dhruv Jain, Sid Jain, quickly. Dhruv Jain is there, Sid Jain is there, yes. Melissa, say yes. Where is Melissa? Okay, yes, Melissa. Ali, I can see Ali. Ayush, Ayush.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Amar, your video has to be on.
Yes, ma'am. You are calling me, ma'am.
No,
Ma'am,
only for
I'm
attendance.
present.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Yash Mandelkar.
yes, ma'am.
Yash Mandelkar. Okay, quickly. Rishabh Misala. Yes, Rishabh. Mariam Srushti. Mariam is there? Yes, I can see. Yeah. Kanchan. Yes, I can see Kanchan. Narayan. Yes, Narayan. Concentrate. Narayan. Akshat. Where is Akshat gone?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, Akshat. Aditya. Aditya. Amar. Amar, where is Amar? Can you say yes? Amar.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is the video off?
Ma'am, I cannot switch on.
Okay, fine.
Ma'am, it starts the back camera.
Okay, fine. Amatullah is there. Shravani, I saw Shravani, yes. And Piyush. Piyush? Where is Piyush? Say yes. Piyush?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, Piyush. Yes. Good afternoon, Piyush. Good to see you here. So, except for Atharva Avsare, all the children are present. The important chapter, I don't know why he is absent. Okay, fine. So, I continue. Children, I hope this much is clear. Please go through. You will follow. I am continuing sharing the screen. Let's come to calorimeter. All the mics will be muted. Okay, so I explained how the specific heat capacity in different phases is different. Okay. Now, everyone look at this picture. This is a picture of a calorimeter. Okay. Now, this is a cylindrical vessel which is used to know the amount of heat that is gained or the amount of heat that is lost. Now, everyone look at this. Firstly, this calorimeter, this part is made up of copper, very thin sheets of copper. This part. After that, it is kept in a wooden insulated material. Okay, this material is totally insulated material of wood. Inside they have air. Children, remember, air is a bad conductor. Air is a bad conductor. Air is a bad conductor of heat, so they are having air over here. Okay, it does not conduct heat. Okay, and then all things are insulated. There is a thermometer to measure the temperature. Right now, see why this particular calorimeter is used. Let us say I have water in the calorimeter. You can see this blue color, there is water. Now this water is at 20 degrees Celsius. I have measured the temperature of water before pouring it into the calorimeter. The water is at 20 degrees Celsius. Now I take a heated piece of copper. I heat it, I note the temperature. Okay, I note the temperature and now I put it in the jar. Okay, I put it in the calorimeter. What is going to happen? What is going to happen? Copper is going to lose the heat. Okay, the copper was at, let us say, 80 degrees Celsius. Now it is put in water which is at 20 degrees Celsius. Copper is going to lose the heat. Okay, copper will lose the heat and water is going to gain the heat, right? And after that, they are going to come to a particular temperature which will be a common temperature, because copper is a hot body. The hot body will lose the heat and the cold body is going to gain the heat. So they will come, Mariam, sit straight. So they will come at a particular temperature, right? And when they come at a particular temperature, I have to note what is that particular temperature at which they have come and how much heat was lost by copper, how much heat was gained by water. All that I can note with the help of numericals and formula. Okay. Now, first thing that you have to notice, why this calorimeter, the inner part is made up of copper. Because copper is a very good conductor of heat because of its low specific heat capacity. It has got a very low specific heat capacity. Okay. So, because of that, the absorption, see, when we are talking of the heat that is transferred between a particular substance and water, okay, the calorimeter is also going to absorb heat. Remember that. Now, we don't want a lot of heat to be absorbed by the calorimeter. So, we are taking a calorimeter which is made up of a material which is a very good conductor of heat, that is copper. So, very less heat is absorbed, very negligible amount of heat will be absorbed by the calorimeter, and we can understand how much heat is lost by the hot substance that is dropped in water and how much heat has been gained by water. Right now, this I'm coming to a very important slide. After this, try to understand. Okay, you know the equation Q equal to MC delta T. Okay, now let us see the slide. Principle of calorimetry, or we can say principle of method of mixture. Now see here, there is a substance A. Okay, let us say I have taken a substance A. That substance is a metal. Let us say tin. That substance is tin, the metal. Now, the mass of that metal is very important, M1. Each and every substance has got a separate specific heat capacity. So, the heat capacity of that particular metal tin is C1. Now, that metal is at a higher temperature, let us say 80 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now, I'm dropping it in the calorimeter. Now, there is another substance B. Let us say B is water. Water is having a mass of 50 grams. Specific heat capacity of water is there. Okay, we know. Right now, this water is at lower temperature, 20 degrees Celsius. So that's why I have written in bracket T2 is less than T1. The temperature of water is less than T1 because that tin is at 80 degrees Celsius. Now, when you drop it, within some time, the temperature of the mixture, everything will come to a particular temperature. The tin is going to lose heat, okay, from 80 degrees, and let us say it comes to 50 degrees Celsius. And water, are you understanding? Tin is going to lose the heat. Tin was at 80 degrees Celsius. Now, because it has been put in water, it's going to lose the heat. The heat is going to come down to 50 degrees Celsius. Water was at 20 degrees Celsius, it is going to gain the heat. So it is going to become warmer, and water will start gaining the heat. It will also come up to 50 degrees Celsius. When both the things are at the same platform, 50 degrees Celsius, then the transfer of heat will stop. Okay, now there will be no heat transfer and there will be one temperature which is common to both the substance. So if what is this T, final temperature of the mixture, that is 50 degrees Celsius. Okay, tin has lost the heat from 80 degrees, it has come to 50 degrees. Water was at 20 degrees. Water has gained the heat from 20 degrees, it has risen up to 50 degrees. So the mixture, the final temperature of the mixture is T. So if T is the final temperature, fall, this is very important, please understand. Fall in temperature of A, tin, T1 minus T. T1 was a higher temperature, 80 minus 50, the fall in temperature. Rise in temperature of B, T minus T2. Please understand this. T minus T2. What is T? T is the final temperature of the mixture, 50. T2 was the initial temperature of water, that was 20 degrees Celsius, so that has risen, right? So the heat energy that is lost by tin, A, MC delta T. What is delta T? T1 minus T, change in temperature. Heat energy gained by B, that is water, MC delta T, okay, that is M2C2 delta T, that is T minus T2. What is T? T is the higher temperature of water minus the lower temperature at which water was there. So according to the principle of calorimetry, this is the principle of calorimetry. Heat energy lost by the hot body is equal to heat energy gained by the cold body. Which is the cold body here? Water, right? So, and the hot body is tin. So M1C1 T1 minus T equal to M2C2 T minus T2. This is the principle of calorimetry. Whenever we are solving the sums, we are solving the numericals, we are going to use this formula. Okay, this formula, and it is very simple, children. You just have to note the fall in temperature, the rise, and you have to use this formula and you have to solve the sums. Now, with the help of this formula, there may be a substance whose specific heat capacity I do not know. You can calculate the specific heat capacity of that substance also. Okay, so I will let me see a numerical where we will see how to calculate. I will show you a simple numerical. Okay, just 5 minutes. Try to understand, and then we'll continue next with the numericals and everything. Okay, now. Where are why the videos are off? Kanchan, all videos to be on. Okay. Now just have a look at these numericals. Okay. Still time is there, a lot of time is there, so I can see, show you the numerical. Okay. Now this is a numerical from your book only. Page number 271, question number 9. You can just see the page number in your book. Okay, I have taken this numerical to explain this. Okay, question number 9. Everybody see the question number 9. Okay, I'm reading out the question first to you. Okay, now I'll go stepwise. And then I'll ask you, wherever you have a question, you can ask me. A mass of 50 gram of a certain metal. Okay, so there is a certain metal. So here I've written mass M1, that is 50 grams, okay, of the certain metal, right? Now that is at 150. You have heated that metal. So what is the temperature of the metal? 150 degrees Celsius. So T1. See, if I take this as M1, then everything has to be 1. So this becomes T1, temperature of this particular metal, T1. Now that is immersed in 100 gram of water. Okay, so the water is the second thing. So M2, mass of the water, 100 gram. Okay, and the temperature of the water, when you took it in the calorimeter, it was 11 degrees Celsius. So the temperature is 11 degrees Celsius of water, T2. Okay. Now, calculate the specific heat capacity of the metal. I do not know the specific heat capacity of this metal, C1. I will take the specific heat capacity as C1. I do not know that. That has to be calculated. Okay. And it is given that the specific heat capacity of water is 4.2 joules per gram per Kelvin. Okay. So, according to this, according to the principle of calorimetry, heat lost by the metal is equal to heat gained by the metal. Okay. Heat lost by the metal equal to heat gained by the metal. Heat gained by water. Right. Now let us see heat lost by the metal. So the formula M1C1 delta T. Now listen. Now it is also written that the final temperature of the mixture, okay, is 20 degrees Celsius. Final temperature of the mixture is 20 degrees Celsius. So after you put the metal in water, the final temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. Now till here, anybody has any doubt? Ask. Somebody was trying to ask something. Ask. Okay. So final temperature T. T is the final temperature. After putting that, both the things will come at T. Now see here. M1C1. This is for the metal. M1C1. T1. What is T1? Metal was at a higher temperature. It has to come to T. That is the final temperature of both the things. So T1 minus T equal to M2C2. M2 is the water and C2 is the specific heat capacity of water. And now here, do not write T2 minus T. That will be wrong. T minus T2, because water is at a lower temperature. What was the temperature of water? 11 degrees. And it is coming to now it is gaining heat and it is coming to the temperature T, that is 20 degrees Celsius. So T minus T2, right? So now what is M1? 50 gram. C1, this is what I have to calculate. See how we are calculating the specific heat of that particular metal. So C1 I have to calculate. T1, 150 minus T is equal to 100 into 4.2. 4.2 is the specific heat capacity of water, 20 minus 11. Okay. So 50 multiplied by C1, 150 minus 20, 130. Okay. And this 20 minus 11 is 9. So 100 multiplied by 9, 900 multiplied by 4.2. So C1 equal to, you have to just 900 into 4.2 divided by, see this divided by 50 upon 130. Now this you have to divide on your own and you will get the answer 0.582. So I had a metal. I did not know what kind of metal it was and I did not even know the specific heat capacity of that metal. I just heated the metal. I put it. I got the specific heat capacity of the metal 0.582. I just go on the internet and I search which metal has got a specific heat capacity matching this, and I will come to know which metal I was having in my hand, because I had some metal, I heated it, I did not know which metal.
The metal.
Yes, you can identify the metal. Yes, Sid. You can identify by knowing the specific heat capacity.
How?
You can, How? There is a table, Sid, there is a table, okay, where the specific heat capacity of each and every metal is there. Okay, in your book there are a few things, okay. On the net, you will find for everything, right? So you can find. So using this, using the principle of calorie, very important chapter. Why I have taken it? Because I want you to get start doing the sum. Because in the last moment, if I take it, then it becomes difficult. So you slowly, initially you will definitely have problems, but I will solve all the sums with you, send you all the solutions, most of them. So you will not have a problem. Please sit and solve. Very important. Sit and try to solve on your own. Write the formula and try to solve on your own. That is the only way you will learn. Okay. So you are going to send me the worksheet of force. Okay. You're going to solve and yes, Aditya.
Ma'am, you send it on the group.
I have sent the work. Yeah, I'm going to send the worksheet of force on group. You will solve and send. Yes, Aditya Sunke, please ask me question.
Ma'am, the answers.
Answers.
Do we have to send it
to you on the
Try to,
group, or
हाँ.
do we have to send it to you personally on
I will
your
give you the
email?
email. I will give you the email address. Okay. Next time when I this thing, you send it on to my email. Yes, Aditya Sunke, you have a problem. Aditya is not able to hear me. Aditya,
Yes, ma'am. How do we
tell
do
me.
the questions related to time?
Huh?
Like question number 6, 8, 13. How do we do those related
Yes,
to
yes,
time?
I'm going to solve all the questions for you, Aditya. Don't worry. I will solve right from question number 1. Don't worry. This question, just to explain the principle of calorimetry, I have taken this. Okay, Aditya? Right? We will go through all the questions. I will give you the solutions of all the questions. Right? This question I took up because I wanted to show you how to use the principle of calorimetry, and using that principle, how to calculate the specific heat of the substance. I want to know whether you followed this. Aditya, have you followed this?
Yes.
I will send you the answers. I will also discuss next time. Next class, I'm going to do all the questions, most of the important numericals of exercise 11A, right? Exercise, the previous exercise. We will do all the questions and then we will solve them. Don't worry. Okay, now if there is time, I can take.
Ma'am,
Yeah, yes.
Ma'am, how
Mariam.
much time?
ma'am, in
Mariam.
this question, C2 was given, but what if C2 is not given in some questions, and how do we solve
No,
it?
no. 1 minute. C2 will, only one thing will not be given. Mariam, only one thing will not be given. Here, C1 is not given, right? In the next question, it can be that C2 is not given, but C1 will be given. Now see my next question. That is why I want to solve the next question. That is the 10th one. Now, see the 10th one. What is the 10th one? The same, just see down below, 10th one. Now, in this case, they are taking 45 grams of water. Okay, so that I have taken as 2. Okay, that is M2. So, mass of water M2, 45 grams. The temperature of water is T2, 50 degrees Celsius. Now, this water becomes cold when 50 gram of copper. Now, this time what they are doing, the temperature of water is hot. Okay, they are putting a cold bar of copper. They have decrease the temperature of copper to 18 degrees Celsius. Okay, it is at 18 degrees Celsius and they are putting it in hot water. Now, what is going to happen? The water is going to become cool. It is going to come down. Okay, and because it is going to lose the heat. And the copper that is there at 18 degrees, it will become warmer because it is going to gain the heat. Okay, so what they are asking you, what will be the final temperature? Now, this is a different sum. Both the specific heats are given. Okay, can you see here? Specific heat capacity of water and copper, both are given, right? But they are asking you now in this question, what will be the final temperature of the mixture, right? So I will write all the things. Mass of copper M1, temperature of the copper 18 degrees. Okay, final temperature T. This time what we are going to calculate? Final temperature T. Now mass of water M2, 45 grams. Temperature of water is at 50 degrees Celsius. And the specific heat capacity of the water and copper is given. Now see how I have solved it. Heat lost by water. According to the principle of calorimetry, water was at higher temperature. Heat lost by water equal to heat gained by copper. So M2C2, T2 minus T. T2 is at a higher temperature, 50 degrees. Okay, and T is the lower. T2 minus T equal to M1C1. This is for copper. Mass of copper, specific heat capacity of copper. And now the copper is going to gain the heat. The temperature is going to increase. So T minus T1. T1 is the temperature of copper, 18 degrees. Okay, this is going to come up. Right, now I write all the things. What is the mass of water? 45. Heat capacity of water, can you see here? 4.2. Okay, 4.2. Then temperature of water here, 50 degrees Celsius. So 50 minus T, because it is going to come down. Right, now copper, 50 grams. The heat specific heat capacity, Mariam, you can see it is given over here. So 0.39. So okay, so I have written the specific heat capacity of copper. Then we do not know T, so T is there, and 18 degrees was the temperature of copper. So how do you solve it? So see what I have done each and every step. Okay, so 45, 42 upon 10, 4.2 I have converted to 42 upon 10 into 50 minus T equal to 50. 39 upon 100 into T minus 18. So here, when you multiply, you can cut this with 10. So you will get 9 into 21. 5 will get cut. 5 9s are 45. And here 21, 2, 21s are. So 9 into 21 into 50 minus T. And here 51s are 50, 52s are 100. So 39 upon 2 into t minus 18. Now what to do? This 2, you take it on that side. So then 18 into 21 into 50 minus t equal to 39. Okay. What did I do? This 2 was there. This I took on this side. So 9 into 21 becomes 18. This has to be multiplied by 2. So 9 to the 18. 18 into 21, 50 minus t equal to 39 into t minus 18. Then you open the bracket. Now this has become a linear equation. You are good in maths, right? All good maths children. So this has become a linear equation. So 18,900 minus 378t equal to 39t minus 702. So take all the t's on one side. So I have taken this t on this side. So 378 plus t plus 39t. So it gave me 417t. And this I solved. So therefore t equal to 47 degrees Celsius. So as I said, numericals only one formula is there, but you should learn how to solve. That is why I have taken the chapter, start practicing. Okay, now what did I do over here? What have they asked us to do? They have given us all the things. Mariam, they gave us all the things, but they have asked you to find the final temperature. One cold body has been put in hot water. Okay, so the water has lost some heat. Okay, see, water was at what? 50 degrees. Water was at 50 degrees. Now what is the temperature? 47 degrees, right? So water has come down. It has lost heat. And that copper, 18 degrees Celsius, it has gained. Now, can you see how much heat copper has gained? See, it's an excellent example. Water, the loss of heat and the gain of heat, children, of water is very slow. Okay, so water has just lost 3 degrees. Okay, that much only. And copper is a good conductor, and it has got a high specific, a very low specific heat capacity. So copper has gained a lot of heat. Okay, whatever that substance was, it has gained a lot of heat. So this is the final temperature.
Will be 3, no?
Yes,
As 50 minus 47 is 3.
yeah. So water has come down. Okay, and copper from 18 it has gone to 47. Water has come down only by 3 degrees Celsius, but copper, what was the temperature of copper when it was put in that 18 degrees Celsius, right? It has gone to 47. So much of heat copper has gained, no? Now why it has gained so much of heat? Because low specific heat capacity. So, okay. So did you understand this sum now? This is about the final temperature.
Ma'am, but it is not equal, no, in this case.
So it will not be equal. It depends. That is what I'm saying, Sid. It depends from substance to substance. Loss of heat and gain of heat will never be equal. It depends from substance to substance. Okay?
Yes.
So
Ma'am.
yes.